What's up, guys?
Welcome back.
Can you believe it? Episode 20.
Episode freaking 20.
Literally just said, like, right before we started recording this, that's 5 months.
That's 5 freaking months, bro.
5 months you've been working on yourself.
And it doesn't even feel like 5 months.
No, absolutely
like,
not.
the fact that we've been, like, sitting here recording a podcast for 5 months. Like,
That's crazy.
Are you serious?
It's almost half a year.
That's crazy.
It's a huge chunk of life.
And you guys
I hope
have
you're
been
getting better, yeah.
And you guys have been with us on that whole thing, too. You know, either if you came from, like, day one or you kind of joined in, like, partway through. We're happy to see you guys here, joining us, being with us here. But
I've grown a lot in the past 5 months, I'd say.
100%.
I think a lot of people have too.
I think we all have, like, we got some loyal fans now too.
We do. Shout out Joe.
Shout out to Joe. We got some people in the comments there that we see a lot that are kind of like talking about how much they like our podcast and they like what we're talking about, everything like that. So it's great to see. Hopefully they're growing too.
Yeah. I'm eating a protein bar right now.
He is eating a protein bar.
Please
I told him maybe wait to.
I told him I wanted people to hear me, so.
Yeah, but
I'm human.
Because you're doing that, why don't I spit the fee?
Spit the fee.
Okay, so while he eats his protein bar, I'm gonna spit the fee real quick. And you might be sitting there. This is the first time you've listened to our podcast. You're saying, fee? I have to pay for this? And yeah, you have to give us. We have a Venmo. You can just give us like $10.
Gosh, stop.
Just kidding. The fee is not a monetary fee. No money. Well, you could give us. Could be in Bitcoin if you wanted, but like, there's no money involved. Okay, so basically, our fee is. We, share these great ideas on our podcast, and our whole thing is that we're trying to grow, right? We're trying to show people the way, show people how to improve themselves. And our main goal here through this podcast is to help you guys grow with us and kind of bring you along with the journey. So your fee, the thing that you're going to pay, so you're going to go find some friend. You have a friend. I'm thinking of a friend right now. Complete loser, has nothing going on. You need to get that friend, tell him, watch this episode. Tell them about the podcast. Tell them to get on it. Watch it. Join us on this journey, and let's do it together, right, boys?
So we make good episodes for you guys. So you go tell people about us. That's how we exchange here.
Freaking tell people.
Or by word of mouth.
For real. Okay.
We got a banger episode for you guys today.
You gotta talk into the mic.
We got a banger episode for you guys today.
Banger episode. Today we're gonna be talking about a rut and kind of what happens when we fall into a rut. You're thinking like, oh, did I just fall in like a ditch in my car? No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about in life.
Mental rut.
We always we have the ups and downs in life, right? There's things going on, and maybe you fall down and you kind of get into a little bit of a mental rut where you're not, at your full capacity, succeeding how you want to. We're going to be talking a little bit about kind of what that means, how to identify that, why it's important to know that it's not like that big of a deal. It happens, right? Ups and downs are the whole point of life, but it's how you react to them. And then kind of how we get up out of that rut and how we continue and grow further, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, sir.
Also, before we do this, I'm a little bit sick. It's not COVID. I tested negative twice, but I got a little bit of a cold. So if you hear that, I'm a little extra nasally today.
Yeah, more than usual.
So just keep that in mind. So let's jump into this. Now he's still eating.
I can talk.
So I'll just go.
Good protein bar.
Okay,
bro.
I'll go first so you can finish your freaking protein bar. But first, let's kind of talk about a rut. And you know what? I haven't done this in a while. I haven't said this line in a while, but I'm going to tell a story, okay? There's a little story about me, a little stuff that's going on with me, right? Because I kind of fell into a rut this week, okay? And that's kind of where this episode idea came from. So recently, we've been in Thinking Wealthy, we've been stuck at a follower account that we've been like trying to break through. We kind of got into this little stagnant area where like the views weren't really coming in. We were trying to build the audience more. We kind of got stuck, right? So I felt myself getting a little bit demoralized. And then at the start of this week, I realized like, hey, we just got to grind, right? We were all saying in our little group chat that we had, we just got to grind, post stuff, get going, right? And for like 3 days straight, I was posting a clip every day. I was working real hard. And then out of nowhere, bam, I got freaking sick, right? I got sick, tried to go to work sick. Not a good idea. Don't do that. Everyone thought I had COVID, and then they were all looking like they were going to kill me. So I went home early, tested negative, but then it definitely got me in a rut, right? This whole weekend, I literally just sat at home. I finished Naruto, so I had nothing to watch.
Oh, my gosh.
I was just sitting there, bored out of my mind. And I was like, I don't know what to do, right? And I felt myself being sad.
I finished my protein bar.
That's great. Telling myself I was, like, oh, this sucks. Like, I'm in a rut. Like, this sucks, right? And then I realized I was like, bro, this is just a cold. It's not even COVID. Like, why am I tripping, right? It's just a little cold. I'm going to get through it, and we're going to grind, right? We're going to keep going. Don't let that stop me type of thing, right? And yeah, so I fell in a little rut, but then I picked myself up and I said, there's no time like the present, right? We got to keep working, keep moving forward. And that's kind of the whole point. But, sometimes these ruts are a bit bigger. Sometimes it's a bit of a bigger ditch you got to climb out of, right? And we're going to be kind of digging into that more. But, Nick, if you just kind of want to give anything before we...
Yeah. So I finally finished my protein bar. It was a good protein bar. Kirkland, go get those. Anyways, so the thing I kind of want to say here is the first thing we want you guys to recognize is there's almost like a 3-step process. We kind of discussed this before the episode of recognizing a rut, understanding that you're there, how to get out, and how to move forward. Each of those pieces come together to create that mini process that pretty much is universal, how it's followed to get through a rut. It's very umbrella. There's a lot of nuances to each specific rut, but I think as long as you learn to recognize that you're in a rut, then you're in a good place to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? So that's a really important part is life is not linear. You're never going to look like a straight path upwards. It's going to be ups and downs, and crazy highs, crazy lows. It's all over the place. But the important part is if you take one step backwards, that becomes 2 steps forward. Right. And that's the name of this episode. So that's how you know that's important.
And just for those econ majors out there, this is like the business cycle graph. Oh my God, I just burped. It goes up and down, right? It's kind of like stock market or whatever, right? You got to go down, get lower, right? And then from those lower prices, get to new highs. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of this waveform. Yeah. Right? We keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. But it's good that we can at least control it so we don't have a total crash, right? Mm-hmm. And then lose all the progress that we made. We want to be able to let ourselves fall if it happens, but then pick ourselves up again and go higher, right? Yeah. So from there, let's kind of talk about it. I think the good first step is talking about identifying, right? So I think one of the biggest issues people make is that they have a struggle with identifying when things aren't good, okay? So right off the bat, you have to be able to look in, a huge skill is being able to look inwards,
self-awareness,
and
right?
See what's making you upset, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people who don't know how to do that. They're upset, they're sad, they're angry, but they don't know how to look inwards and say this is upsetting me. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of the first step in identifying your problems, and it's a huge step, right? If you can learn to do this, we've talked about this before, being very self-aware and understanding the things that are affecting you. This is gonna make you just so much more better at dealing with your mental health, dealing with things that are making you upset. And it's a crucial skill, but a lot of people don't have it. And it's okay. It's something that you have to kind of learn to build upon, right? It's something where a lot of people, when they get upset, they go to someone else to complain, or they go and they just sit in their bed and they scroll through TikTok and they just get sad, right? And I think that's a bad way to approach it. It's okay to let some emotion out and be sad for a bit. Yeah. But you got to be able to be okay, I need to figure out what the hell this is and then move forward, right? Rather than just being upset about it.
See, the thing that I think happens to a lot of people, like you said, specifically with that TikTok example, think about this, either consciously or subconsciously, so many people want to stay in those ruts. How toxic it is. You know that saying misery loves company or whatever, something like that? Right. That is exactly, that is 100% true. So many people find themselves in those ruts, and then they're just all I want to stay here because it's way easier than taking those 2 steps forward, or I enjoy the pity party that people are throwing for me. Right. I'm getting attention. Look at how sad I am. I want somebody to come help me. All of those issues, whether you realize it or not, is you basically holding yourself back and wanting to stay there, right? So you have to recognize that you're in that rut and then want to get out of the rut as well. Perfect. It's when you're in that dip, it's so easy to just get caught in that downward spiral without even catching yourself. You could just fly down there and not even realize how bad it is. It's pretty intense. So it's the like we talked about in one of the previous episodes, being self-aware and consciously auditing yourself throughout the day, checking your mental state and realizing, hey, am I spiraling downwards right now? Am I allowing myself to enjoy the company of misery, or am I trying to actively get out of this pit, And the important thing is recognizing that you're in that pit and that you're trying to climb out. That's the important part here.
Right. And in kind of in turn with this, I think I was talking with someone and they're you're very emotional. Mm-hmm. I thought about that for a second. I think, yeah, sometimes I am a bit emotional, but I think what it comes from is I'm very in tune with the way my emotions work. Right. Mm-hmm. So there's always ways we can work to kind of, hide our emotions or kind of shelter ourselves from showing too much emotion. And that was definitely something that I realized I had to work on, was my emotional problems getting too much in the way, right? But like one thing that a lot of people do with this, like, okay, something bad happens and now I'm falling into a rut. And there's kind of two things they can do. They can either let all the emotion out, right, and let it affect everything else, or they just like completely shut off that emotion, but then eventually it kind of does the same thing where it tugs on you and it pulls on you and it pulls you down, right?
Yeah.
So like to me, there's no like, you can't let it all out and just let it affect everything, and you also can't just completely shut it off and act like it isn't happening. There is a certain level of awareness you need to have that isn't, okay, this is terrible, everything's terrible, blah, 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 blah. That also isn't, okay, this doesn't matter at all, I don't care about it. It's like, I see this problem, here's this thing that's making me upset, and it's kind of like hurting me right now. How do I, identify that and then learn to like take steps to neutralize it and get it out of the way, right? So I think that's like the first step. And like for me, the way I do that is like that self-audit process, right? That thing of, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to think about my thoughts, and I'm going to really kind of collect myself. And then from there, I'll be able to say like, okay, this is what's affecting me. This is how I'm going to get out of it. And this is what I'm going to practice, right? And I do that a lot. Like, I don't think people realize, like, when I say that, it's like, especially when I'm going through something tough, it's like every day I have to remind myself, like, hey, things are still good. Let's keep going, moving forward.
It's almost like moment by moment, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, whenever. It's like, sometimes there'll be days where, like, multiple times in a day, I have to remind myself of that goal of, like, hey, this isn't that big of a deal. Keep moving forward. Don't let it affect you, right?
I think another important thing to realize when you're in this rut is that like you can't have highs without lows, and you can't have lows without highs. So they complement each other, and it's important that you have ruts so you can experience and actually enjoy the high points and understand that like, hey, I just came from a pit, but look, I just like climbed out, and look at how exciting and amazing life is right now, and I enjoy it so much because I worked to get out of the rut.
Exactly.
And that's what's so crucial. So yeah, step one, be aware that you're in that rut, and then make the conscious decision to move forward. Now, I got step 2 if you're ready.
Yeah.
I think it's forgiving yourself,
Right.
for being in that. Way too many people beat themselves up. They're like, oh man, I just took a step backwards. I'm terrible. I'm horrible. Like, I broke my streak of trying to be the best person possible. And like, you don't realize how much progress you did make, even though you just took one step backwards. I think a lot of people don't even like realize, hey, like, you just took 3,000 steps forward, but took one step backwards, and then you like freak out over that one step.
Right.
There's all the other like 2,999 steps right there were forward. You took one step backwards, and you freak out over that one little step, but like you're not even acknowledging all those other steps
you made forward.
So like forgive yourself for that one step right there, because now you can turn that one step into 2 steps, the comeback.
Exactly. So, I mean, yeah, it's a perfect way to look at it. It's like, yeah, so many people, it's like this thing where, like, I do it too. Negative things seem to affect a lot of people way more than positive.
Oh, that's 100% true.
Right? So, like, little negative things are all you think about, but you don't think about all the other positive things. And I'm really guilty of this. I do this all the time where, like, I got all these positive things going on, but one negative thing will just shut my mood off, make it terrible, have a bad day, blah, 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 right? And it's something that I really have had to work on in terms of like understanding, like, look, like, why am I letting 90% positive, 10% negative? Why am I letting 10% negative be my mood, right?
Yeah.
Let's, look at that 90% positive and let's just have a good day and be positive. And then that negative starts to go away. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're like focusing on that positive and realizing like, hey, things are still great just because one thing's going wrong, that's perfect. That's the perfect way to look at it. And it's always going to lead to being able to get out of those ruts faster. It's when you sit there and you focus on that little negative bit, that's when you fall into a rut, and that's when it gets bad. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You know what's really interesting here? So basically, that point you said about focusing on the positive and like constantly like auditing, making sure like, oh, I'm not focusing on the negative, I'm focusing on the positive. That's actually like mindfulness, like being mindful of your thoughts, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. Fun fact for you guys. So little teaser right there. But yeah, it's really important that you watch those thoughts, and like, it's so easy to get caught up in negative, because when you take one step backwards and just forget about your 2,999 steps forward, that you just freak out over that. Like, even for me, I'll see like one negative comment in our Thinking Wealthy stuff, and then I'm like, dude, this sucks. This is so annoying. But I don't even like look at the
hundreds
15,
of positives.
the hundreds of other positive comments, and like I'll get caught up on that one bad comment. It's like that happens. You have to be aware that happens, and then like acknowledge it, and then forgive yourself. Like, it's crucial to forgive yourself too, because you have to remember you're human. You're going to slip up, and it's like you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Too easy to get caught up in the negative.
And yeah, like that, the thing of just like no one's perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are, and this kind of comes from like a self-consciousness of wanting everyone to look at you as like, oh, this person's perfect, right? To me, I'm like, I know I'm not perfect, right? And it's like, I never want to be able to say, oh, I'm perfect, because I know I'll never be able to say I'm perfect. Mm-hmm. But my goal in life is to be able to say like, no, I'm not perfect, but I'm really good at doing a good job, right? Never going to be perfect. There's always going to be times where I slip up, but that's what, you know, the people I care about around me are for, right? Mm-hmm. Like, those people are there to like push me forward and keep me up when I do fall, right? When I do get to that point where I'm not, you know, I slip up and I'm not being perfect. Those people, and, you know, me, myself, how I've trained myself, that's what's there to pick me up and keep going, right? And it's the people who kind of like bag on you and like make you feel bad for falling down and not being perfect, mm-hmm. that are the ones that are going to keep you in that rut and keep you there, right? So what we have to focus on is, you know, just like people trying to be successful is like, hey, no one's perfect. First of all, don't bag on someone for having a bad day or like not being perfect. It's okay. And like everyone kind of is going through that journey together, right? So if we constantly worry about being perfect and giving off that perfect perception, what it does is a lot of the times you just mentally get so tired, right? If you're constantly trying to like not show people like, oh, I'm sad today, or oh, I'm upset today, or oh, something happened, and you're not like, and you're trying to hide it and be like, I'm only perfect, like I'm the most perfect person in the world, it's not going to work. Like, you're going to fall down and you're going to look really bad, and a lot of people are going to be like, and you get exhausted, right? And then you go home and you're like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is just too much stress, too much anxiety. The main thing that I think people get anxious and worried about is really like trying to be perfect, right? Mm-hmm. Trying to be something you're not. Know that you're not perfect. No one will ever be perfect. And in my opinion, the idea of a perfect person is someone who's completely self-aware in the fact that they aren't perfect. Right?
It's almost like a oxymoron. Or
right.
Whatever. Yeah.
It's like the most perfect person is someone who acknowledges the ups and downs, acknowledges that they're not perfect, but does everything in their power to like be the best person they can be. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, that is, in my opinion, the perfect person. And that's what I aim to do. Right? I know I'll never be perfect, but I can aim to be kind of like that best person that always looks to take that step forward and move forward and bring positivity, right? Yeah. That's all we got to do.
So I think I totally just lost my train of thought. It was like it was connected to forgiveness and negativity.
Okay.
The rut. Okay. How about this? We'll jump into example here. I think there's a lot of dudes who will like, especially the nofap community, right? There's so many dudes who are like, oh, I did this, 300-day long streak, and then I dropped it, and then they like quit after that, right?
Right.
So many people will quit after their ruts, but you have to remember that like getting into that rut is sometimes even like ruts, like what I'm saying is this can be the catalyst, the slingshot into the biggest growth of your entire life,
Right.
There's this part in the book, The Atomic Habits, that I have a little sticky note in my room, but basically it shows this graph, right? And there's this certain point, it's called like the I nicknamed it the fog of disillusion. Basically, it's like this certain point that everything seems so bad and so hard that once you finally reach that point on the graph, then it's like straight up, right? But It's like this point where it's this very slow growth, which kind of looks more like this, right? Because you have the ups and downs. And then once you reach a certain point, which usually is right after a big rut, and you actually acknowledge it and forgive yourself and then move past it, is when you'll hit the biggest growth in your life.
Right.
Like getting past a rut pretty much equals like growth. It's almost like the stock market, when we hit a recession and we hit if we're going through a bear market or whatever, right? It's usually followed by a bull market.
Yeah, those corrections are what then follow with
exactly
growth.
It's like the natural course of things is like down and up.
Right.
And so if you stick through it, actively try to go up and understand the fact that it will go up, you can have the mindset to like break through the fog of disillusion, as I call it, It's not the end. Like the rut is not the end. That's my point. That's what I was trying to remember. Like the rut is not the end. And if you give up like in that pit of despair there, then you've just wasted all this progress and all this pain that you went through for nothing,
Right.
So like don't waste that. Like use it as your catalyst for growth.
So like kind of another analogy for that is like when you go through like, especially with college classes, like a lot of the time, like there'll be a lot of classes where you'll see it's the form is like there's a midterm and a final and that's it, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so much stress, right? But I think what it's really for is this, like those 2 tests are they're weeding out all the people who can't do it, right? So like in the sense of like through life, there's always going to be these hard things that are going to be in the way. And it's how you react to them and it's how you work through them that are going to determine your growth or not, right? Because those most challenging moments are the ones that lead to the most growth, right? Yeah. So if you can push through it and you can show that you're above that and you can get through it, it kind of like weeds you out from all these other people. And you'll notice the most successful people are the ones who can get through a rut and move forward, take steps forward rather than just sink into that rut and let it affect them forever.
They get past that little point, the fog of disillusion, you know. Once you get past that point, that's when the most growth happens. But so many people, average people, will quit in the rut because they give up. Like they think that that's like it. Like that is, they gave all they had and they're like, I tried so hard and then I took one step backwards and now I'm stuck here forever.
Exactly.
Like I said, misery loves company and people like to enjoy their pain and suffering. And so people will stay there because it's easier. It's literally easier.
Yeah, you can just sit there. I mean, like, what's easier than sitting in your bed and watching TikToks all day?
Absolutely nothing, bro.
It's super easy.
Comfort is the killer of man. Shout out Hamza.
Okay, so
the final step is literally just converting that one step backwards into 2 steps forward.
Right. Well, I'm gonna blow my nose so you talk.
Okay, he's gonna blow his nose. So let's phrase this as a question. For me personally, is like, how would I go about converting that 1 step into 2 steps, right? So like we acknowledge we're in that rut. We're like, okay, we just went through it. We hit that pain, but now we've forgiven ourselves and we're at that point where we're just about to hit the fog of disillusion and break past that barrier, right? So the most important thing that I like to do to convert that 1 step backward into 2 steps forward is journaling. If you aren't journaling and you're like claiming to be on a self-development journey, you need to start journaling right now. Like, I know he would agree with me too. Like, start journaling. Like, journaling is going to be the game changer.
Journal.
So start writing about like the comeback that you want to set up. And now that you have your brain thinking about like, how do I turn this setback into a comeback? That is when you slowly start creating that 2 steps forward.
Perfect. Yeah, journaling to me is like every time, I'm telling you, every time
solve so many problems.
Every time someone's like, I was just talking to someone and they were like saying, oh yeah, I'm like just like mentally all over the place. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I just feel like just anxious and sad. I was like, well, why? They're like, I don't know. And I was like, have you thought about just journaling? And they're like, what? And I was like, just sit there, turn off. Like they're saying they're sad and they're complaining about sadness, but they're also distracting themselves by talking to people, looking at TikTok. I'm like, turn all that crap off. Like, just turn it all off and just sit there.
Frying your brain. You're
just
melting.
sit there and think about nothing. And when you sit there in that silence, right, you're going to figure out what's affecting you, right? There's so many people who don't know how to do that. And to me, it's like journaling. The reason it works is it doesn't work if you just kind of like sit there and you lie. Right? Yeah. Same thing with like going to therapy. If you go to therapy and tell your therapist, they're like, what's wrong? And you're like, oh, everything's great. I love my life. That's doing
They're
nothing.
They're going to be like, okay, I can't fix anything.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's nothing you can do then. You have to realize like, okay, there's something wrong. I'm going to sit here and I'm just going to like look at this paper and I'm just going to write things. And it might seem like, oh, this is so random. What is it going to do? But it's crazy how your mind will just come upon to the thing that that's upsetting you. Yeah. And you always find the way to write it down on the piece of paper, right? Your mind will just naturally come to that point where it's like, this is what's upsetting me. And it's journaling that has helped me get through so many things. And some people are just like, and a lot of people like to say, oh yeah, I journal. No, you don't. Like, I'm sorry, but like when they say that, they like, right? Like,
today was a good day.
Today was a good day. Like, I'm not talking about
smelled roses.
Like, and I usually start off my journaling that way. Like if I'm starting the day and I don't know exactly what I'm going to say yet, I'll usually start with like, this is the date. This is what happened yesterday, blah, 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 blah. And then I'll be like, oh, yeah, and I want to talk about this. And then I want to talk, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll just come naturally from that, right? It's like having a conversation with someone. You start off with, like, some basic small talk, and then one topic will lead into something, and then something, and then something, right? It's the same idea. You're just talking with yourself, basically. But so many people don't know how to do that. It's the same with the other thing I recommend always is, like, meditate. Like, just sit there Like if you feel anxious and you feel like, oh, there's so much going on, it's like people a lot of time are like, oh, I can't meditate, or like, oh, it doesn't work for me. You have to literally turn off everything. The whole point, I think people think meditation is like a way to like open your third eye and like get like really like focused. No. The whole point of meditation is just to shut off everything going on.
Oh, save it for the next episode.
Sorry.
Yeah, save
like,
it. Next episode. You
next
guys can
episode.
learn. Yeah.
But basically, my whole point here is like, you have to be able to realize like when we're in a rut, the best way to get out of it is by focusing on those things that are going to help you get out of it, right? If you sit there, you sit sad.
It sounds simple. Like it's literally that simple.
It's that simple. Like just try like journal. Just write down what's upsetting you.
Mm-hmm.
Try to figure that stuff out, and it will come to you how to get out of that rut. You'll just take like, you'll make a step and write down like, I'm going to do this. This is what's going to get me out of it. I'm going to do this, right?
Yeah.
And just stick to that. Every time you think about, oh, I'm sad, or oh, I'm in this rut again, or oh my God, something's happening, just take a deep breath and say, I'm going to do this. That goal that you set, I'm going to do this. And there's nothing that's going to stop you.
Yeah,
I guarantee you.
Write down literally a small actionable step that can create the comeback. The point is to create this comeback, right? You're about to break through the fog of disillusion and become better than every like average person. So make the decision and be like, I'm not average. I'm going to stick it through and get past this rut and convert it into 2 steps forward. When you're making 2 steps forward after going 1 step backwards, you just made progress. You just broke through the fog of disillusion. So it's the active chasing of the comeback is how you create the 2 steps forward. There's no way you're ever going to create 2 steps forward with like there isn't really like a process you can take. It's a mindset you have to have. You know, there's no easy way we can tell you, be like, write this exact word down and then jump 5 times and then you'll get out. It doesn't work like that. No. The whole thing is the mindset to approaching it. Sounds simple, right? Like, oh, I could have thought of that. Like, that's the point. It's that simple to get out of it, is to literally just chase after a relentless comeback. And when you do that, your brain will actively search for it, especially when you're writing down like how to get out of the rut. There you go. Like, it's that simple.
It's that simple.
That is how you convert a setback into comebacks. 2 steps forward, baby. That's what it's all about.
2 steps forward. And like, to kind of wrap this up and kind of give an example of like, you guys might be sitting there and thinking like, okay, well, like, what do I do? Like, how do I do this? Right. I'm going to give the example of that rut that I talked about in the beginning, which was me getting sick. Right. This is a very easy and actionable one. It's not very mentally taxing to figure out. It's very simple, right? But I sat there. I was sick. Saturday, I was feeling my worst. Actually, no, Saturday and Sunday, I was feeling my worst. It was not feeling good. Like, I felt just in pain. It was terrible. My throat was, like, killing me. Just bad stuff, right? Did not feel good, right?
Bad juju.
But I realized, I was like, okay, I'm going to take this time to recover. But starting Monday, I'm getting back up and I'm doing stuff again, right? Nothing's going to stop me. I was like, I know by the end of tomorrow, like I was thinking Sunday, I was like, Monday, I need to get I worked that day. I need to get myself back together no matter what. So I'm going to give myself this rest time. And then starting Monday, I'm going to get up. And even if I feel sick, even if I don't feel good, I'm just going to keep going, right? Because it's like kind of mentally just like you got to be like, okay, shut that down, right? And Monday I woke up, felt a little iffy, took some Advil, and I was like, frick that, bro. I'm not going to get sick.
That's the mindset.
It's that mindset. And I went to work, worked a 6-hour shift, didn't even care. Didn't even care, bro. Like, from there, it's just like, I shut that stuff off. I said, I'm not going to be, like, oh, I'm bummed out. I'm sick and I don't want to do it. No. It's fine. I'm chilling. I already told myself, Monday, I'm not letting myself fall again. I'm going to take those steps and move forward. And that's exactly what I did.
Actively made the decision to chase the comeback.
Exactly. And now we're on that comeback. Now we're coming back up from it. Hey, I still feel a little sick.
Going
Who the frick
strong,
cares,
though.
bro? I'll spread my sickness to other people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who cares? Don't spread your sickness. I'm not that sick anymore. It's fine. But I mean, hey, from there, right? It's always about taking those steps forward, and it really comes from like, you'd be surprised if you just say like, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna waver from it. You will succeed. Yeah, like that is true. And like for me, the one thing is like, whenever I feel myself feeling like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to waver, I just take a deep breath and I think, why am I gonna give up now?
Can't
give up, and then you don't give up. You know what I'm saying?
My last little bit of sauce for you. I say also surround people who like change up your mindset when you're in a rut. Like people can be a really good boost and influencer. Like especially in our little Think and Wealthy group chat now, I like to text in there and we just all like bounce the energy off. We bounce energy off of each other, and that helps so much just pushing forward and getting out of a rut. So that's my last little tidbit, is just go find people who actually push you in the right direction.
Boom.
That's all I got for getting out red. It's really that simple. Takes a half an hour right there.
Alrighty, perfect.
Now it is week 20, Monday.
Week 20, Monday.
6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You've been doing great things this week, and guess what? You're going to do even more great things because now you know how to get past the fog of disillusion.
All right.
Real Sigma's journal, and you're going to go achieve some greatness.
Go achieve that greatness.
Go
it's
do
the
something
start.
amazing.
It's the start of month 6.
Start of month 6.
Let's make, by the end of month 6, we're going to be freaking heroes, bro.
That's
We're gonna be
half a
killing
year.
it.
You like next episode it'll be, or no, it's the start of month 6.
Start of month 6.
It's
So
a
like
couple
in 4
episodes.
episodes from now, like
You will
this
be
episode
half a
plus
year.
3 more, half a year.
That's
okay?
crazy.
It's craziness. All right.
We will see you guys later.
See you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.